we didn't get cued by there we go. Good morning, everybody. I'm Michelle Bruno. Normally, I'm here with Dahlia Algazar and or Liz King Caruso. Today, I'm flying solo. The others are off doing their side hustle, taking care of themselves, their family, whatever. But thank goodness I have Huong Nguyen here with me to cut the shit about crappy attendee journeys and what we can do to level up the event experience. So, Hong, welcome to Cut the Shit. This is your debut as a guest genius. I hope it's not the last time that
No.
you're here with us. Where are you coming in from?
I'm dialing in from Austin. I'm
Oh,
here for a client event, and it's
mhm.
an amazing program for a tech client. And so I'm here with you.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you're a little bit under the weather. I want to explain to everybody that if she goes down, folks,
If I'm like,
no, we know it wasn't me. Anyway, thank you
but I
so
also
much.
have the sexy voice on.
Oh, we love that here at Cut the Shit. I'm telling you. Dahlia, that would just set her off. She could talk for an hour about sexy words. Anyway, thank you so much. Welcome, Leanne. Leanne's in the house,
And
so there'll be good
hey,
conversation for sure. So, first, tell us about Shiloh events. What do you do? What's your thing? Give us a little bit of background.
yeah. So Shiloh events started in 2013 after I had just finished my MBA, and I was really uh, questioning the purpose of my existence. Why
Hmm.
yeah, really, like I had gotten my college degree in events management, then I
Mhm.
went to get my MBA and I couldn't land a job. I had a really great resume. I worked at NASA for 4 years doing their events and their shuttle launches. Then I
Mhm.
went to work at ServiceNow, which is a tech company doing their knowledge conference that's still in existence today. And I was like, why can't I land a job? I mean, I also had a lot of reference at the time as well because of my MBA network. And it
Yeah.
was just, I had a moment to reflect. And sometimes you have to do that. You have to pause and think, what is the purpose of why I am doing what I'm doing? Should I just get another 9 to 5 or should I start my own company? And so I had several months of self reflection and asking
Mhm.
pretty much the universe, like, what do you want me to do? And I just felt this faint whisper, or I heard this whisper of like, well,
Sexy
start
whisper? Was it a
this
sexy whisper?
it could have
Good
been.
stuff. Good stuff.
Um,
Oh,
I
this is
was
it.
like,
Get your shit
yeah,
together.
yeah. It was like, well, the
Mhm.
really the question was, what do you love? What's your
Mhm.
passion? And I answered that question with, well, I love events. I've always loved being in that crowd of people, being connected.
Mhm.
Because growing up, I didn't have connection with my parents. They were working a lot because we were like very poor as immigrants, and I yearned for connection. And so events was one of those places to have
Mhm.
the connection. And I was like, well, I love events. I love producing it. I love being in the magic of it.
Mhm.
And then another whisper came was like, well, start an event planning company. And I was like, oh my God, like how that's a great idea, but how am I going to do that? Right. Like at the time I was 23, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I was very young, right? Like I didn't really know how to navigate the nuance of a business, but I went for it. I just did it. And it was my passion. And the passion for events really fueled me through
Mhm.
this whole journey of starting the business. But really, it also helped me name Shiloh. So Shiloh is a Hebrew word that means peace. It's a place of peace. And so my goal is when people work with me and my team, they're exchanging stress in a very chaotic industry for a
Mhm.
sense of peace, and peace comes through just our whole aura, right? Like our the
Mhm.
reason why we do what we do, but also how we do it. And peace not just for my clients, but peace for the attendees. And we're here to talk about shitty experiences, right? Like when you
Mhm.
walk into an event, like if it's a citywide event or if it's a program that's like so chaotic, so much going on, you can't help but feel a little bit stress or feel
Yeah.
lost or feel
Mhm.
like I'm overwhelmed. There's too many people here. I'm overwhelmed. Or you can feel underwhelmed at the same time. And so my goal in partnering with my clients as a strategic partner is thinking of ways not only to like how do we deliver peace, but how do we deliver um, a great experience that it's going to be memorable for them, that they're really going to walk away with actionable insights, that they're going to be elevated in their thinking and overall like just changed and impacted in a positive way, not just through content but interactions, right? Networking, engaging, like leveraging all of the sensory at the same time. So that's really what I bring as an agency and partnering with our clients, and like overall strategic thinking, and that the holistic event design approach.
Mhm. Well, that is quite the differentiator. I've got to say that in my many years of being in this industry, I have never come across uh, a company whose mission was to bring peace to the events industry.
Yeah.
So I'll give you that for sure.
Yes.
So I have mixed feelings about attendee experience, but I first want to ask you about where you think the attendee journey begins. Is it at the moment they sign up for the event, or accept the invitation, or does it have to begin way before that, in the pre-event stages? And also, where does it end?
Yeah.
When they walk out the door of whatever venue, is it over in terms of how the enterprise or how the organization should be, communicating with them?
Yeah.
Is it a lifelong thing? Is it like you adopt attendees for, the whole year and you nurture them like children?
Yeah.
So talk about that in your mind, because peace is not a ephemeral thing. Peace
Mm.
has to be, once you give them this gift, you
Yeah.
want them to feel it, right?
Yeah.
When they leave.
Absolutely. So a typical answer that you would hear event marketers would say is
Mhm,
that the attendee journey starts with the minute that they receive the invitation, right? And
mhm,
then afterwards it's a post-event survey and registering again. For me, I think more universally, I think more spiritually. And when I'm coming to the event design process, the attendee journey starts the minute that I'm thinking about them, the minute that I'm considering who these people are that I'm designing for. That's when like they start in here for me, right? Like so I always identify, well, first of all, what event are you doing? What is the format of that program? Is it an executive program? Is it a large conference? So all of the design aspects is going to be different. And then who are you targeting? Like, are these executives? Are these mid managers? Are they entry level? Are they marketers? And so in my mind, like what energy that I'm giving out is like, I'm thinking already about you. I'm thinking about you. I'm dreaming about you up here, and I'm designing that whole experience right now. So your journey, whether you realize it or not, begins the minute that I put on paper who I'm designing for. And then in terms of like that first touch point, like when they even hear about it, when they hear this the posting, like the announcement of like we're launching this program, you're invited. That for me is that initial like impression that I'm having with
mhm,
you. So the minute you even hear from me or hear about the program, that's when your journey starts, because I'm already talking to you whether you realize it or not. I'm already like designing it for you. And then considering who you are, what you like, what your pain points are, that's really important. We always think about the experience of like the sensory, and that's great, right? Like how what people are feeling, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, because it's really important that you give people that feeling that they're going to forget, and I'm going to tell you why. But we also need to think, what are the pain points? Because people are paying so much to attend these conferences. I mean,
mhm,
I'm an attendee at PCMA, SEMA, or MPI, or IMAX. I mean, but that I'm paying to be there in terms of hotel,
mhm,
flights, and and it costs like $2,000 sometimes to go
mhm,
to an industry conference. What the am I walking away with? Can I say the F word on here? Like,
mhm.
what am
Yeah.
I walking away with, right? Other than
Mhm,
yeah, and I love the friends and the connections that I've made, but really though, what are the insights that you're giving me to for me to do my job better, for me to convert attendees to customers, for me to really design content that actually drives action? What are some of those insights? And Oftentimes these conference content can be really 101, and where the pitfall that I see my clients go into is designing content that is entry level, that like, well, let's just cast a wide net, let's just create content that everybody can consume. But that's not going to be effective, right? You need to really segment the content into different audience type and have different tracks and really leverage your speakers to deliver that information.
Mhm.
And another pitfall is, well, we want to lean into internal speakers, right? Because they're free and they're already available. And it takes more time to then curate other speakers. But I think it's really important to do a call for speakers to get external knowledge that's out there within that industry, and work with your speakers. I'm a speaker at a lot of conferences. The
Mhm.
organizers don't collaborate with me. Like,
Yeah.
I can pitch a session and get accepted, but and the free reigns on me. But honestly, like, I wish I had calls with the organizer to really ideate, right? Like, for me to understand who the audience, who am I talking to? The one
Mhm.
conference that really did this well, can I name names?
Yeah.
Okay, the one conference that really did this well is Rain Focus. I was a speaker
Mhm.
at their conference, and Rain Focus has got it.
Utah company, just saying.
Okay.
They're based
Yeah.
out here.
I love the
Mhm.
way that they plan their events. Like, they had 2 calls with me. For the first call was to ideate. Like, they said, "You know what? Your session's been accepted. You're going to speak on experiential content." But like, they asked me, "Walk me through, what it is that you're planning on communicating, right? What are the actionable insights?" And I shared that with them. And then I asked them, "Who are your audience? What do they want to hear? What are their pain points?" And these are their customers. And so some of their pain points was really around event design and leveraging the Rain Focus platform to create better agenda and like customized agenda. And so I was able to weave that into my talk. Oftentimes these like conferences don't have the pre-speaker calls with me. They don't. I literally, I get accepted, I show up and I speak and I walk away. They're not leveraging the speakers effectively, right? And then that content that I spent 2 hours building, half an hour on stage, and then more time going promoting the content about their program, it's not being repurposed, it's not being leveraged in other ways. So it's like a one and done. So that's another pitfall, is like, you're spending so much time and energy and money on content. Find ways that you can repurpose, find ways how you can, work with the speaker to ideate and curate and create content that actually speaks to your audience. So going back to my initial answer is like, where does the attendee journey start? It starts in the design process. It starts when you
Mhm.
first consider them and they first hear about you, because you're already like strategically talking to them without them realizing it. And then it ends the minute that, actually, to be honest, it doesn't end, right? It really doesn't. It's like a
Yeah.
cycle, like right now, I'm already thinking about IMEX. I'm already thinking about going to PCMA. I'm already thinking about next year's Rain Focus. It doesn't end. It's a matter of evolution and evolving and going through that cycle together. And then making sure that every moment of that touch point is going to be meaningful. I don't want to be bombarded with spam emails either. I don't want you to constantly come at me. That's really annoying. But if you really understand my daily struggle as an event marketer is figuring out the ROI and like talking to my execs that I need to like prove this investment. If you understand that and you give me content that really helps, my day to day, then yeah, I'm going to open your email. It's about tapping into the pulse, right? It's
Mhm.
it's not like a checklist date at like 9 to 5 and you're done. Like, as an event marketer, I really truly believe that this events industry is like a whole universe that you have to plug into and tap into and really attune yourself to the attendees feels and their struggles, and create content that speaks to that. But at the same time, I think that where the magic really happens is if you can find how your solution can speak to their pain point on a from a tactical to a strategic level. I mean, all these tech companies are
Mhm.
constantly bombarding me with like content, but Bizbo does it so well that they know the events industry. I don't know if you've been to Bizbo's blogs and read their content and their
Oh, yeah.
webinar, but they know every single struggle. And so their content, it's just amazing. I'm constantly visiting their blogs for insight. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of the design and the attunement that I'm talking about when it comes to attendee journey.
So this is a little bit off topic, but I'm struck by how much of uh, your personality is injected into the events that you create for your clients. And this idea of creating holistic experiences, of bringing peace to attendees, it's almost a spiritual journey for you. My question is, what is it about your lived experience, or perhaps even the culture that you grew up in, that informs that attitude or that approach to events? Because it's almost like an advertisement for using independent planners, because they bring this completely unique experience to events that you're not going to get from, if you're an enterprise and you want to do an event and you just pull from your pool of event marketers that are doing it a certain way. You reach outside to get this like fully formed individual person to come in and do your event. It might be a different experience for attendees. So where did you get that?
Yeah. Well, to answer your question from a holistic view, I always preach this, is that like if you're in events, you have to
Mhm.
love events. You have
Yeah.
to love this chaotic, unique, dynamic, constantly moving, very stressful environment. You have to learn, like if you don't love it, if you don't love cooking, get out of the kitchen.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? You have to
Mhm.
really have that immense passion for it. And so that for me, like that fuels me, in terms of
Mhm.
how I approach the event planning process. What is it for me that where my unique style comes in of trying to, of applying the event design and like the whole attending experience as a spiritual journey really comes from my parents constantly instilling in me this purpose of like, well, what's your legacy? When you are living a life, you know, you have to think through, how are you impacting people? How are
Mhm.
you being impacted by others? And what is the legacy that you want to leave behind? Events is a channel, a vehicle, a platform in which that legacy is being imparted into, right? Like think about it. Like you build a home, you invite people over and it's a housewarming party. When people walk into it, what they smell, your smells, they smell the aura, they feel your energy, and they walk away like, oh, that was a fun night. I had a great time at Hong's house, right? And I felt loved. I felt like there was a connection. Think about that on a magnitude of a 10,000 people event. How can you create that magical moment in a
Mhm.
one-on-one unique experience, right? Or even in a session. And so it comes from this desire to leave a legacy that's bigger than me, right? So when I'm working with my clients to design agenda, because the power that I have in events is when a client comes to me, I get to build their budget, literally. It could be at least 1 million, 2 million, and I build the entire experience. I also built the agenda, and I pitch it to them, and then they then pitch it to the executives, and I have to enable them. I have to empower them and equip them with all the talking points of like, well, why are we starting breakfast at 9 instead of 8? Executives are going to say, well, we lose an hour with them. But that 1 hour, if you get them there at 8, they're not going to even pay attention because they're
Mhm.
tired, because it's too early. Like, and you have, 8 to 9 breakfast and then 9 o'clock session. Well, in the meantime, the transition, the brain isn't fully there yet. So you have to
Right.
build in time for maybe a wellness activity or some kind of engagement to get them really activated. It's not about getting bodies in a room. It's not about that. It's about engaging their minds and their attentiveness and their activating them so that they can consume your content, so that they're in the right frame of mind to take the action that you want them to take at the very end, which is to convert attendees to customers, right? And I speak that as an end goal and an ROI, because a lot of my clients are tech clients. All of them are actually. And when they produce these conferences, the goal is to convert. They want to make money off of it. Otherwise, why would they spend at least
Mhm.
$1 million to 2 million or more to bring in 200 people or 500, right? Or 1,000 in that room? What is the whole goal? It's not there for us to party. It's an experience, right? It's not us for there to just sit in a room. It's learning so that we can actually, either purchase that product and grow that company or build a community together. You got to think about the end goal. And so in terms of this whole like spiritual journey, the end goal for the business
Yeah.
is money, but the end goal for the attendees is elevation and skill set, elevation in network, elevation in mindset. And how do we merge those two together?
Well, I'm really impressed by the very human approach that you take to the attendee experience. So I'm also wondering then where you feel about where technology fits, because we've got like a very human thing, and then we've got a very machined thing trying to, blend in the context of an event. And, what's the role of technology in this more holistic
Yeah.
and human landscape that you try and create?
Oh, that is such a conflict for me because I did a post earlier this month about, because I was at an event and I polled event marketers and I asked them like, what's the one app you can't live without in your
Yeah.
life? And
Mhm.
I had like different categories like dating apps, task apps, wayfinding, social media, and people chose social media. That like the majority of the people chose that they can't live without social media. And I'm like, wow, that is interesting
Mhm.
because on the one hand, you want to connect in person. You don't want a phone in between you. Like when I'm at dinner, like I put my phone under my ass. So like I don't want to look at it, like I don't want to, or like I turn it upside down. And then sometimes I consistently check and I feel guilty. Um,
Mhm.
because you want to stay connected, right? Or
Yeah, you
when
wanna be present.
you want to be present, but at the same time, there's this whole metaverse of connection that's like also in existence on the phone. So it's hard for me when I say to my clients, you should have a mobile app because because it eliminates the need for printed agenda. It enables customized agenda, right? It
Mhm.
enables networking on there. You can see all of the attendee lists and you can sign up for sessions. So there's so many amazing things about tech, but the flip side is when I'm at an event and I'm constantly looking at my phone like, where am I going? I'm missing out on that opportunity to connect. Like for an example, if I don't have a mobile app and I need to find an agenda, I would probably say, I would find somebody like, hey, are you heading this way? Oh, you okay? I'm lost. Let's go
That's
together.
how you do wayfinding.
Yeah, like what's your
"Hey,
name? Yeah,
is the
exactly.
ladies' room, have you been to the ladies' room?"
Yeah. Or if you're single, you look for a man and be like, hey, let me walk with you. I'm just kidding.
Why
What I mean?
not?
Right? Or if you want to find amazing friends, that's one way that you can connect. And sometimes technology can hinder that in-person connection. So, but
Yeah.
you can implement that and then also implement other ways to network that doesn't rely on networking. I think there's a balance. Absolutely. There is a balance that you need to have. Event tech plays a huge role in event design. Absolutely. I think as event marketers, we really need to find the budget to integrate with event tech. And one of the pitfalls that my clients get into is budget. Unfortunately, they have to answer to their execs. There are varying degrees of budget freedom of my that my clients have. Some clients will, they're some clients I will give them a budget, they get approved, and we work within that budget. And then there are some times that the executives hand the budget down to them. And I have
Mhm.
this one client that like sadly she only has $800,000 to do 3 road shows, and each road show is like 200 people each. And I look at her and I'm like, that's bare minimum. Like you're not going to be able to have like a backdrop. you're not,
Mhm.
I mean, the venue rental alone is like 20,000 if you want to
Mhm.
do a non-hotel venue. So budget is a huge pitfall. And then when that happens, they deprioritize event tech. They deprioritize that networking aspect or the the customized agenda, and we have to then make it up in other ways, right? We have to make it up by maybe providing more of their employees on site to staff it, to help people figure out what sessions they should go to. Maybe we do a genius bar, and if attendees are not if attendees have questions, then those attendees will go to the genius bar and have one-on-one connection, and then the staffers would be their employees, giving them guidance on like, oh, you're interested in this, maybe you should attend this session the next day. So there's certain ways and that you can ideate and be creative to fill in the gap that an event tech that if you didn't have a budget for event tech, to fill in that gap. But I always would definitely advocate prioritizing budget for that as well. So it's a balance.
So I wanted to talk about what we're calling, one size fits all, cookie cutter types of events. There are definite advantages there for the event organizers or the enterprise because they can be sometimes more economically viable because you're maybe reusing strategies and technologies and
Yeah.
infrastructure, over and over again. Some attendees find comfort in knowing what to expect from an event that is kind of the same as it was the year before and the year before that.
Yeah.
So how do you balance this real, the vibe that I get from you that you really want to make it creative and deep and different, but there's something to be said for some levels of same old, same
Right.
old. How do
Yeah.
you blend the two? What's that discussion like with your clients?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I said in the very beginning about how you need to understand who is going to be that at the conference. I
Mhm,
was speaking to a prospect the other day, and she was sharing with me how there's legacy attendees, and then there's like the newer generation, right, of attendees. So the legacy attendees are uh, people who are older in their demographics, right? They've attended the conference 5 years. They're used to, and this is hilarious, they're used to a printed booklet
mhm,
of session. And I remember doing this at ServiceNow when I worked at their knowledge conference. I remember an entire booklet that we would give with a bunch of sessions. And she was saying, people actually liked that. There was subset of audience attendees
mhm,
that actually enjoy collecting the booklets. And then, she's like, well, how do I go away from that and have a mobile app? And I say, well, you can have both. I mean, for a little while, eventually that subset of audience, they're fading, they're aging away, they're retiring, and then you can continue to then curate an increase in the larger audience of the next generation, but then you're still targeting them. So it comes back to segmenting. It comes back to understanding the percentage of the demographics that you have there and creating multiple experiences for each type of attendees. The one size fit all, like, well, what is that one size? Are we doing x small, medium, large? Like, what is that?
mhm.
I don't think that can exist in this data, like in this modern day. It just can't. We have to realize that there's diversity in everybody, and that diversity needs to come out in the way that we design the event, right? That's definitely a pitfall. Like, I was actually talking to my client's the CRO yesterday, and
Mhm,
I asked him because my for this one client, I do two types of programs. I do the sales side and the marketing.
mhm,
The sales side has more budget than the marketing side, and my marketing client was like, why is it that sales get more money and I don't? And so I was trying to, like, basically go up to the CRO because I have a good relationship with him and fight for more money for her. And I was asking him, like, can we, why is it that you don't allocate enough budget for marketing? And he's like, because sales make more money. I
mm,
want to
yeah,
have money in my sales kickoff because sales are the people that actually make the money. And I'm like, well, what about marketing? Marketing can also, expand your reach and increase brand awareness. And he's like, but those audiences, they just want to show up and have fun. It's all and I said to him, well, how do you think people are brand loyal. If they don't like your brand and they're not, buying into it, like how are you going to be able to convert? And he just didn't understand, and we had a really good conversation. And to him, his one size fit all was
Mhm.
because he didn't understand that marketing, he didn't understand the marketing audience was also a different audience now, right? Like he was used to his company creating marketing events that was where you show up, or like product events where you show up and you learn about the product and you leave.
Mhm.
That was the original format. You go to these sessions and you sign up for like product 101 and what it can do for you and the solutions, and you eat the food, you go to evening reception, and boom, you're gone. He didn't realize that that is not that old format, because there's so much elevation in our and evolution in our thinking now, that people actually want more out of these experiences. So I had to explain to him that that model doesn't work anymore. the
Mhm.
the model now, even if you're doing a roadshow or an executive forum, you have to really think about how to activate their body, how to activate their mind to consume this content. And
Mhm.
in order to do that, you have to give them healthy food. You have to incorporate some kind of brand activation and experiences into that. And he walked away. He's like, oh, okay, let me think about it. But I still didn't get the budget that I wanted. But I planted a seed.
Yeah, maybe next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Hong, you've given me so much to think about. And for someone who's on their sickness deathbed, I hate to see you when you're like full strength. I mean, that would be like Tasmanian devil shit going on,
you
in
know,
the conversation.
oh my
So
gosh.
I'm
Yeah.
glad I'm glad you came down a little bit in the energy level so that we could have this really excellent conversation. And I also want to thank Chris and Leanne and Sean for joining us today. And I don't know, do you have any sort of message to the industry, Hong, for creating a good attendee experience? What's the bottom line?
I think the bottom line is to be empathetic and to consider who it is that you're designing for, really, at the end of the
Mhm.
day. Um, I know budget is a factor, and I know you have these executives breathing on you and constantly asking, for the ROI and the justification for spend. And that's where we as event marketers need to take ownership, authority, and like fucking own it, that like this is my program. You've given me $1 million to build an event market, a program for you that's going to yield return. Like I know what I'm doing, and I need to fight for the attendee experience, fight for that better like feel that people are going to get. Oh, I mentioned earlier, I was going to mention about the feeling. So
Mhm.
I love the Maya Angelou quote. She said, people are gonna, what does she say? People will forget what you said and did, but they will
Mhm.
never forget how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And and that's so powerful, because these events are an opportunity to make them feel something. And how you do that, you have to fight for that. So I think that would be the bottom line for me, is to encourage event marketers and event planners to fight, to be able to create moments where you're generating feelings, so that way when they're at the event, that's basically your implant, your plug on them, right? And yeah, and just have the authority to believe that once you have an impact on somebody, that's loyalty. That's brand advocacy. That's like
Mhm.
conversion right there. It's more than just content.
I can see the dynamics of this conversation playing out in the chat. I see Leanne's just going, "Yeah, go, man. Just, knock it out of the park. Just get in there, be the boss." And I'm picturing like Sean with tissues going, "That is so beautiful." Um, I am so, the whole like peace thing.
Yeah.
So if you can do everything that you said and foment world peace, have at it,
Or
sister.
event
That's
peace.
all I
I
gotta
don't
say.
know about world peace. I'm targeting event peace.
You gotta start there. You gotta start somewhere. Anyway, thank you again. Thank you so much for letting me hang out solo with you, and I can't wait to
Love
see
it.
you in person at the next event. I just want to tell everyone that next week we have an extended program. It'll be 45 minutes. We are going to talk about digital events, all the different components, and answer the question, have we finally have we finally gotten to a point where we can say digital events are better and profitable and meaningful and successful? And we're going to have two excellent guest geniuses with us to talk about it. So see us next Thursday, 10:30 Eastern. And again, Hong, have a lovely, lovely weekend. And I'll see you somewhere, maybe in the dojo at IMAX or whatever. We can just breathe together and hang
I'll
out.
see you at SEMA in Seattle. Maybe.
You won't, but I'll be expecting a full report. Let's put it that way. Okay.
There.
Anyway, thank you, everybody. See you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.